Philadelphia Eagles select Devontae Smith, wide receiver, Alabama.
Welcome to Party on Broad. Today is our Eagles 2022 season preview. We're going to break down the top storylines, predictions, what we're excited about, what we're not excited about. Guys, if you're watching this, be sure to comment. Be sure to smash that subscribe button. With me, as always, my man Rob at Philly_Menace. What's up, Rob?
How we doing, Chris? You know, I actually wrote stuff down for today and left it on my office at work. So I'm going in totally blind. Can't remember anything I wrote, but I did. I was like prepped. I was ready to go and then left it at work, which fits the bill for me. But hey, I'm excited to talk a little Eagles. They brought some excitement back, and here we go. Let's start it up.
By the way, I'm way more excited than my dog back here who's like passed out. Just saying. Also joining us, we got my man from Philly Sports Alliance, Ryan. What's going on, man?
Not much, man. Glad to be here and talking some birds.
Let's do it, man. Let's jump right into our season preview. You know, we just got done with the NFL draft. Lead us off, Ryan. Who was your favorite Eagles draft pick from the 2022 NFL draft?
This is an easy one for me. And I suspect it's probably a lot of people's favorite. But I've been pining for linebackers since the day I was born. And I've gotten a few good Eagles linebackers over the course of my life, but far too few. And I think we just got another one in Nakobe Dean. And the simple fact of the matter is, I was perfectly fine with trading back in the first round to like the mid-20s and selecting Dean. So the fact that we got him in the third round is astonishing. And God bless his agent, who he subsequently fired after the draft, for allowing this report that, you know, his pectoral issue was a lot worse than it was, and he needed surgery. So I'm super thankful for whoever put out that information, because now we have a potential great linebacker, first round linebacker that we got in the third. And, you know, hopefully that's somebody that can grow on this team the next 10 years and be our, the next Trotter, so to speak, that next big impactful defensive player that like I said, have been absolutely wishing for every year and being disappointed every year. So I'm thrilled with Nakobe Dean.
Nakobe Dean for Ryan. I wonder where this is going, Rob.
Yeah, well, I mean, look, I could go Nakobe Dean. I'm going to be different, and I'm going to in a minute here. But just to kind of piggyback off of that, we were all like in all the mock drafts we did. I know every single one of us at some point had Nakobe Dean to the Eagles in the first round of the draft. So to get him in the third round, it's incredible. I cannot wait. You know, we finally got the Laramie Tunsil smoking mask in our favor. Right before the draft, the guy slips and falls in the Eagles' lap. But I'm going to cheat a little bit, because I'm going to go my favorite player from the draft that became an Eagle, and I'm going to go with A.J. Brown, because the Eagles used a couple of picks to get that veteran wide receiver that I think we've all wanted since they made a bold move for Terrell Owens. Like, that's kind of what it felt like. It's obviously not Terrell Owens, but it's a younger receiver who's got some super potential. When that move went down, you know, at that point, and I was on here with Dibes, you know, the debate was on about Jordan Davis, and everybody was like, some people liked it, others didn't, you know, this and that. And then all of a sudden that came out, and it was like all of the Eagles faithful came back and unified with the addition of A.J. Brown. I just think it's a perfect move for this team. I was excited to see him do it. I had said a few weeks back that if they were going to pick a wide receiver in the first round, I'd rather them trade for a veteran that you know about rather than just draft another one, because their track record there is not very good. So to get A.J. Brown on draft night was as exciting as anything to me. Now, I would have picked Dean, but I wanted to be different, so I'm going to go with A.J. Brown.
Yeah, those are two great picks there. Easily top one. 1A, 1B. I'm just going to piggyback off what Ryan said. For me, it's Nakobe Dean. I had a round 1 grade on Nakobe Dean, and you nailed it. Like the fact that you got him in the 3rd round is such a home run. This is the sideline to sideline. Linebacker Eagles fans have been waiting and waiting and waiting. And the best thing about this guy, he can attack the quarterback. He had 31 pressures just last year. For reference purposes, Alex Singleton had 3 quarterback pressures all year. Davion Taylor had 1 total quarterback pressure, and TJ Edwards had 2 total quarterback pressures all last year. Nakobe Dean had 31. So this guy is elite at finding open lanes on the line, attacking the quarterback. He's also insanely good at read and reacting, one of the best in his position. He also can cover, man. PFF gave him a coverage grade of 90. So I think a low-key storyline from this Eagles offseason with Hassan Reddick, with Nakobe Dean. Like, what is Jonathan going to do with all this new defensive personnel? And I think that's something super interesting to watch, how that defense, the quirks of that defense, this training camp. Any other last thoughts on the NFL draft before we move on to undrafted free agents?
Nah, I'm good.
All right, let's do it. Rob, you're up first. Who is your favorite undrafted free agent for the Philadelphia Eagles?
You know, as excited as I was for the draft, I was almost as excited for the undrafted class that the Eagles signed. They hit some of the positions that I think a lot of us talked about. And not only that, if you look where some of these kids were coming from, Alabama, Clemson, they were coming from Oklahoma. They were going to the big schools, right? How many years, and I'm only saying the name of this school because the first one in my head, it actually worked out really well for them. But how many years have we watched Eagles draft guys from Saginaw Valley State? Now, that's no disrespect to Todd Harriman, who came from there and was a hell of a lineman. But like, I've just been screaming for go to the SEC, go to the AC, go to these big schools, go there. And this one was really hard for me to pick because there's a lot of guys, there's a lot of intrigue. But I'm going to go with a position that I still think Eagles fans are not thinking enough about, and that's the running back position. And, I know we all like Miles Sanders, but the guy can't stay healthy. I love the Boston Scott storyline, but it's the Boston Scott storyline that was cool when you were, 5-win team. Kenny Gainwell has a certain feature to him that I think we all like. So for me, Kennedy Brooks from Oklahoma is the young Jordan Howard role, right? Like you get your, you could go to this guy now. And I really can't wait to watch this kid, because I think he's got an opportunity to get a roster spot. And I think he could be that in between the tackles back we're looking for to spell Miles Sanders, maybe to keep Miles Sanders healthy a little bit longer. So I'm going to go with the running back position, even though there were quite a few I would have loved to have taken here.
Kennedy Brooks to Mr. Rob Lange. Chris Coyle's in the house saying, Georgia, baby. Yes, we are plugging guys from Alabama and Georgia. You can never go wrong with that mentality. What about you, Ryan? Who's your favorite undrafted free agent for the Eagles?
I was gonna say I also too had kind of a tough go at picking just one, but I think I'm gonna say Reed Blankenship to go away from what Rob was saying as far as big schools, because I could have easily said Josh Jobe or Mario Goodrich, who were in the running for me as far as undrafted free agents. But yeah, I think I want to go with Reed Blankenship from Middle Tennessee State. I think, again, has a really good chance to make this team as a safety. He had over 110 tackles, 10 tackles for loss. He was all over the place. And with the uncertainty at that other safety spot, whether or not you're a Marcus Epps fan or what, but I still think this kid has a really good chance to make this squad, and I'm really excited to kind of see what he can bring to that safety room. Just again, kind of coming just from a place of need, really.
All right, we're going 3 different routes for this one. For me, I'm going to go Carson Strong. Carson Strong for my selection. I had a day 2 grade on this guy. I think everything obviously begins and ends with Carson Strong with that arm strength. This guy had 5 50-yard plus passes last year, which led the NCAA last season. He's at his best when he's fitting tight balls into close quarters and closing windows, man. But I find it so fascinating that the Eagles, this guy's like bizarro Jalen Hurts. I found it so fascinating. They bring in this guy, his knee's shredded. He can't run a lick, but he can throw for days. And what Carson Strong does so well is, expose that intermediate area of the field, hitting guys in stride, using his plus arm. And that's something that Jalen Hurts significantly has struggled with since his rookie year, which is so interesting. He truly is the bizarro Jalen Hurts. So obviously the negatives are he has the worst legs in the draft. You're never going to find this guy scrambling out of the pocket. So that's kind of the biggie. But at the end of the day, preseason football is absolutely dreadful to watch. Absolutely dreadful. And he's going to make it that much interesting. And I'm very curious to see how Eagles fans react, because in training camp, when they're just wearing pads, no one's hitting. I think Carson Strong has a chance to kind of turn some heads. And, that being said, Jalen Hurts has some arm issues. And, the Eagles fans are going to look at Carson Strong. And there's nothing more that Eagles fans love more than a backup quarterback. And they're going to see that arm strength. And they're going to be like, whoa. And it's going to be really fun. I don't know. I think it's for enjoyment purposes. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
If the question was the most intriguing undrafted free agent, Carson Strong would have been my answer, hands down. Yeah. Because he is for lack of a better term, the anti-Jalen, right? And he's the guy with arm strength, and he's the guy that if things do not go well for Jalen this year, even if he's on the practice squad, there's going to be a factor of the fan base calling for him. It's just going to happen. Yeah. But honestly, they did so well and they threw, because they only had the 5 picks. They were able to throw a lot more money at some of these guys to get them to come. That's why you got a Joshua Joby and a Mario Goodrich and a Kennedy Brooks and a Carson Strong. You were able to get some bigger names that a lot of people thought would be drafted at the undrafted, because you didn't have as many picks that you're going to have to pay. So you gave the money there. And look, when you talk about a 6th, 7th round pick or an undrafted free agent, I mean, it's a toss-up. It's a toss-up. So why not? So I thought, I don't say it often. I've done a lot of bashing of the guy on this show, but kudos to Howie Roseman. He had a hell of a weekend.
Yeah. Quill says, rumblings coming out of camp saying Carson Strong has such a cannon. We got Rufus in the house saying, man, during the draft, I told you Howie Roseman loves quarterbacks named Carson.
Oh, man.
And Quentin says, great point about the extra cash for undrafted free agents. Speaking of quarterback, this is obviously the biggest question of this season. What are your season expectations for Jalen Hurts? And more specifically, what constitutes a successful year for Jalen Hurts in 2022? Lead us off, Ryan, because this question has layers to it.
Oh, boy, does it. I'm not necessarily a big he's got to hit 3,500 yards and 20 odd whatever touchdowns. I mean, all that is nice, and I think he has the ability to get to, like I said, 3,500, maybe 25 passing touchdowns or 30 total touchdowns. But honestly, I think it's just going to be what we see game in and game out. It's being more accurate. It's being able to see that he is going through progressions and being able to hit his targets in stride. And now with AJ Brown in the mix, and this offense seems pretty loaded. There's not going to be too much room for error here at the end of the season. And again, if it's only if he kind of looks the same, or there's maybe only slight improvement, I'm not going to be too happy. I want to see a significant bump, just not only in a natural progression from year 2 to year 3, but because of AJ Brown and the fact that we've added this major weapon. I don't think there's going to be any excuses for him at the end of the season saying, you vastly improved. You looked like you improved. You improved on the specific things that you have been struggling with. The accuracy, the reading, the instant rollouts instead of sitting there and waiting. If all of those are improved and you can really see the improvement on that, and again, the Eagles are in the playoffs, I think that constitutes a good season for him. And again, I think that's an indication that he'll be the quarterback moving forward. And especially if we get a playoff win, I don't see how he's not the quarterback moving forward.
Love it. Awesome job, Ryan. Odizzle Drizzle, love it, says Jalen got to throw for over 4,000 yards, 11 wins, and a playoff win to solidify him a contract. That is, we're going to address that in a little bit. Jonathan says, I think if Hurts isn't a top 12 quarterback next year, they should go look for a replacement. Too many weapons not to improve drastically. We're also going to touch on that in a little bit when we break down and grade this Eagles offense. Rob, what's your take, man, on Jalen Hurts, and what is a successful year for Jalen Hurts in 2022?
I mean, look, it's this simple for me. This is it. Put up or shut up.
Yes.
Like there's no more excuses. There's none, right? I mean, this is how Philadelphia had judged Carson. This is how Philadelphia judges quarterbacks, but this is a big spot for this kid. Now, I love his attitude, and I know everyone's like, well, him and AJ are friends, so that don't mean nothing. AJ Brown got $25 million a year. He'll play with whoever the hell the Eagles put back there. But it's got to be, just like Ryan said, it can't just be a little. It's got to be a drastic improvement in reading a defense, in hitting guys in stride, in showing a little more arm strength. But it can't just be, and I know people are going to say, oh, you're going to attack him. I'm not, but it can't just be making plays with your legs, running all the time. You got to be able to hit guys in stride. Like, for example, you look at the playoff game when he breaks out of the pocket left, does a great job. He's got to be able to see and make that throw to Devontae Smith in the end zone. That can't happen this year. Those things have to be there. And if they're not, it will be time to move on. What's a successful year? For me, it's not a matter of stats or wins because, look, everyone says, oh, well, they went to the playoffs last year. And look, he still wasn't that good. He wasn't that good of a quarterback last year. So, it's not all about that. To me, though, you have to be probably better than you were last year as a team. And you have got to show drastic improvement in those few areas for me to feel comfortable saying Eagles got their quarterback. Let's ride.
Love it. For me, obviously, it starts with the accuracy. Brian, you touched on that. And I think as well as getting it done against good teams. And I'm talking about winning teams. Jalen Hurts improved his completion percentage by nearly 10% versus his rookie year, but he's still ranked 26th in the NFL in completion percentage. You look at Jalen Hurts last year, he only beat one team, with a win. I know there's way, like, winning a football game is way more than just one guy, but just one team in New Orleans Saints with a winning record last year. So I think those are two big areas that Jalen Hurts needs to kind of wow me. I fully agree, Rob. You look at the game against Tampa Bay, that playoff game, Jalen Hurts was sort of exposed. He was 100% exposed, not being able to throw into tight windows. They pressured Jalen Hurts. They kind of just got in his head and rattled him a little bit with their front seven. So, for me, my expectations, I don't expect Jalen Hurts to be automatically some great downfield passer next year, but I do expect him to take a big step forward, like a lot of the ways you said, seeing the field, going through his progressions, keeping his head up, finding the open receiver. There were too many missed opportunities last year when Jalen Hurts would put his head down and just run, expecting pressure in the pocket when it wasn't there. There are way too many times when Jalen Hurts put his head down and instead missed a wide open wide receiver for a big game. That happened way too much, and that can't happen. We need to see Jalen Hurts keep his head up, step up in the pocket, and attack that intermediate area of the field. I don't have much expectations like 30 yards or down. I want to see that, get Dallas Goedert going in that middle area of the field. find Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown, who thrives in that middle area of the field. That's something the Eagles offense has truly lacked over the last couple of years, and that's where I want to see him go. Baby steps, increments. We'll get to the downfield thing. I don't know how good his arm is accuracy downfield, but for me, I'm really excited to see him get a full offseason with A.J. Brown and Devontae and build on that chemistry, because I agree, Rob. If there was, this was a great draft for the Philadelphia Eagles. If there's anything we learned in this draft, is there are no more excuses for Jalen Hurts. Do or die time. And I'm totally on board with that. And what that means for Jalen Hurts, I think I'm probably different than a lot of people. I'm not the biggest Jalen Hurts truther. But for me, I see A.J. Brown, I see Devontae Smith, I see Dallas Goedert, I see the top offensive line in the league. It's all there. It's all there for him to take every single step he has to in his development. Let's get to some questions, comments real quick. Quentin says, which 2022 opponents are definite losses? Green Bay, Tennessee, Arizona, Indianapolis, New Orleans. That's Thursday, man. I'm hoping to do a reaction show to the schedule, right, when we find out what that looks like. But hopefully you get those teams, later in the season. That way you can just run all over them when the Eagles offense gets going, because we saw a sluggish start. I know the opponents were tough at the start of the season last year.
Yeah.
We all saw that struggle coming. But anyway, any quick thoughts on that, guys?
I mean, it's so hard, to look at this, but Tennessee's not a team that really scares me right now. I don't really know what they are. I don't know what they're doing. I'm very confused by a lot of what's happening there. I mean, Green Bay is always going to be tough as long as Aaron Rodgers is there, but no Devontae Adams. So it's tough right now. I think a lot of it depends on how the schedule lines up. I mean, I think when you have a murderer's row, you can expect to lose one of those. If it's 4 games, maybe you're going to go 2-2. It's tough to just kind of look at it by opponent. I mean, it's not going to be easy to go out to Arizona. Is it going to be? I don't know where the New Orleans game is. I don't know if that's here in the Dome. That matters.
That's home.
That's home.
Yeah, it could be. They were away last year, weren't they?
No, not last. They played them at home last year too.
Okay.
Yeah.
But look, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what New Orleans is. I don't know is healthy. And I mean, look, they got some firepower on offense, but it's tough. Once Thursday comes, you get a better look at that.
Yeah, no, agreed. I definitively can't say anybody's a loss at this point. Especially the 5 teams right there. Like you said, Green Bay, how are they going to look without Devontae? Tennessee, they just lost their 2 best wide receivers, technically, with Julio Jones not being there anymore. Arizona, they had some major changes. Indianapolis, definitely not. I mean, Matt Ryan, come on. And New Orleans still has Jameis Winston. So, these aren't anything that I'm necessarily going into them saying, we're definitely losing that one. I can't say that about any opponent this year, honestly.
All right. Jizzle says you can't blame Jalen, though. The first 4 games, it was coaching. Yeah. The play calling was really bad.
Play calling was really bad, but that's like saying that Carson Wentz wasn't bad that last year. It was all Doug Peterson's play calling. It was a mixture. They both stunk. And that's what we're doing on the first 4 games. They both stunk.
Yeah. It really wasn't until mid-season when kind of Nick Sirianni figured out that, Jalen Hurts is more of a game manager, at least at this point in his career. And that's when he started playing to Jalen Hurts' strengths, and the Eagles were better for it. That being said, they also played some really bad quarterbacks after that first stretch.
It was week 8, right, when they finally realized that maybe they should actually run the damn ball.
Yeah,
exactly.
Take some pressure off of Jalen, and then he's able to do his thing a little bit easier. So yeah.
So Mallory says, I believe Jalen takes huge strides this year, especially with the addition of A.J. Brown. I agree. He needs to beat a handful of good teams this year, 100%. Rufus says, I'm not crazy about this year's draft, but getting A.J. Brown just speeds up the rebuild. If he helps Jalen progress, great. If he doesn't, then we move on with no questions. And you got to look at this Eagles offense, and the young pieces that are in place, like a quarterback that becomes a free agent or a quarterback that wants a change of scenery has to think Philly is an attractive place to play moving forward with the young pieces they got going on. Let's move on to something more positive here. There's a lot of positivity about the Philadelphia Eagles. What are you most excited about with the 2022 Philadelphia Eagles? Lead us off, Rob.
You kind of touched this earlier, but I'm excited about linebackers. Like the Eagles, like the Kobe Dean was great in its own right, but Hassan Reddick right now is scheduled to be a rushing linebacker. They signed Kazir White, who had a pretty good couple of seasons with the Chargers. You have the growth of young guys. Davion Taylor did some things last year that was exciting. I think I love TJ Edwards now, where he doesn't have to be a focal point on that defense, but as like a depth linebacker. And Brandon Graham spoke the other day from their off-season workouts, and I am stunned that not one media member followed up when he flat out said out loud, "Oh yeah, it could be a great looking 3-4 and all that." And it was like, whoa, did he just say they're a 3-4? And now it's like nobody's going to give an answer. But to me, if you look at how they're building this thing, right? Jordan Davis, what's his bet? If he's right on the center, if he's a nose tackle, that's a good nose tackle to have. Fletcher can move to the outside. You got some of these other guys. I mean, it sure as hell seems like they're looking to try and make this thing more of a 3-4. And obviously it's going to be hybrid, but it's the fact that they have linebackers that have now given them versatility and flexibility on defense. And I can't tell you the last time I was excited about an entire linebacking core like I am for this year.
Love it. Quentin says, I'm hoping to see a really good defense. I also want to see 200-yard rushing games again. What about you, Ryan? What are you most excited for?
Well, I'm not going to lie and say I'm not upset that Rob just totally stole my thunder there. Because it 100% is linebackers. So I won't go in because he pretty much said everything that I wanted to say. But I'm glad you said the thing about the 3-4, because they are absolutely setting themselves up to be a great 3-4 defense. I mean, the fact of the matter is Reddick is an absolute 3-4 outside, edge rusher, that outside linebacker. And yeah, Jordan Davis is a prototypical nose tackle. So I'm excited. I'm a big 3-4 guy just because as much as I love my linebackers, So, and I think, like you said, they're set up to do that. So, but I'll go off that, and I'll honestly say the offense, just as a whole, because not only do you have, the progression of a young wide receiver in Devontae Smith, who, just came up short of 1,000 yards his rookie season. I want to see how he progresses. And the fact that you're adding him a running mate in A.J. Brown. You have a couple other good young wide receivers in Quez Watkins. You don't know what you have in Jalen Reagor, honestly. So if you get anything, that's awesome. Dallas Goedert really coming into his kind of almost, veteran role now. He's the old man in the offense at 27. Sanders, again, if he can stay healthy, and it hurts his progression. If all of those things can work in some fashion, their offense could be unreal. Who are you going to cover when you have two amazing wide receivers? So the Quez Watkins will probably be wide open going against some, nickel corner. Then you have Dallas Goedert going right up the middle. You have one of the best offensive lines in the game, and you only just got deeper after this draft. And you're setting yourself up for future years of amazing O-line play. This offense has the potential to be kind of scary. And I'm really excited how it's going to match up against other teams' defense, because they're not going to know which person to focus on, and then someone else is just going to beat you. So if this Eagles offense can be what I hope it can be, it'll be scary.
Man, I love all of those. They're pretty much exactly along the lines of like my train of thought. Rob, you already touched on it, but my number one, area where I'm most excited about is like you said, is put up or shut up time for Jalen Hurts. It's a have and have nots league in the NFL. If you don't have an elite quarterback, the path to winning a championship, a Super Bowl, is so much harder, filling all those holes, plugging in all those holes. But if you have an Aaron Rodgers, it's just so much easier to get it done. And you touched on it, Ryan, like AJ Brown, all these areas. I think that is like the biggest thing. The biggest storyline this season is you kind of can stamp Jalen Hurts moving forward, if or not. And then I do think it's pretty interesting. This front seven, you touched on the linebackers, like Brandon Graham's coming back, Jordan Davis, Kobe Dean, Hassan Reddick. Like, it's almost as if the Eagles kind of took a page out of the Tampa Bay Bucks in that playoff game. Be like, oh shit, look at those linebackers just fly all over the field. Look how they can just attack the quarterback, get into the backfield, and just drive running backs backward. Look at how a beast in the middle of the field just like completely change an entire offensive system. Let's do that. And I think that's pretty interesting. That we went from like literally one of the not the worst, probably the worst linebacking crew in the NFL for sure, right? But that is the Eagles front seven is going to be really, really fun to watch, and obviously the wide receiver group is going to be a ton of fun. Let's kind of go to the opposite side, and that is, what are your biggest concerns about the 2022 Eagles? Ryan, go ahead.
This is an easy one. It's the defensive backs. As Rob had mentioned that earlier, that in the draft you were assuming that we were at least going to get a safety in the first couple rounds, or a corner or something, and that just didn't happen. And now obviously they loaded up in the undrafted free agent market, but that's only going to get you so far. I mean, you really don't have a clear-cut number two corner. Yeah, you have a couple of young guys that are going to compete and whatnot. You don't really have a second safety either. You have Marcus Epps. I don't know what that does for you, but you have Marcus Epps. And so I'm very concerned about those two starting positions and then the depth behind it. I'm really hoping some of those undrafted, free agents can make the team and make an impact. But, if I'm being honest with myself, they're not going to have the impact that I think we all need them to be. So somebody's going to step up, or they at least have to, right? Or this defensive backfield is going to get torn up, and it's not going to be pretty, because especially we're in a division that has decent wide receivers, and we're playing against a bunch of teams that have pretty good wide receivers. So I'm a little worried about the fact of the matter is we don't have that second corner. We don't have that second safety. So when whoever we throw in there at corner is obviously going to get a little burnt, you don't have anybody behind that person that you feel confident in helping out either. So it could be a double trouble as far as, getting roasted there, in the passing game. So I'm hoping they still have a trick up their sleeve. Maybe James Bradbury might help.
I was just about to say.
But, still, or go out and sign a safety. I don't think the Eagles are going to do either of that. And I think they think they're okay and, put the Band-Aid on for those two positions. So I'm a big concern there.
Yep. Rufus says we copied their linebackers, but not their quarterback. Wouldn't that be nice? Jonathan says, do you think there is still time for Kayvon Wallace to become something at safety, or is the door already closed? Any quick thoughts on that, guys?
You better hope he can. I mean, I don't know. I'd rather see Kayvon Wallace take the job than Marcus Epps, probably because I've seen Marcus Epps. I've seen what Marcus Epps can do. Like, he's played. Kayvon Wallace, we haven't had the opportunity to see. I would love if that kid could take the job. I just don't know if he's going to be able to.
Yeah. Same. That's definitely somebody I would love nothing more than to step up. He's young. He is talented. and I just think he just hasn't been able to put it together. And you hope that this is always that story. I mean, it happens all the time in the NFL where you have this player that for the first year or two, struggles a bit and can't really get their feet wet, and then something clicks, and that third or fourth year they're playing at a pretty good level. So players come from out of nowhere all the time, and man, we could really use that for Kayvon Wallace.
Kayvon Wallace played 13 games last year, played 16% of the snaps. What about you, Rob? What's your biggest concern?
Yeah, I mean, I know people want to say Jalen Hurts, but I'm in the same boat as Ryan here. And it all changes if they sign a corner, and I emphasize corner because there's more guys out there in that market than the safety market that I think could come in and help opposite of Slay. But I also think if some of your young corners can play as well, maybe they don't give you the traditional 2 safety look, or maybe they let Avonte Maddox bump back there sometimes if you can get a guy to cover the slot. And you have now some linebackers that could cover some of these tight ends and running backs. So I'm wondering if that's their thought process at safety, is their goal is to maybe eventually, because Avonte did pretty well back there when he had to play the position. So I don't know. I'm just kind of spitballing, but there's a lot of question marks there. Not to mention, as good as Darius Slay is, he's getting older. Not to mention, he's got, 2 more years on the contract, but it's like, I need to see some of these young Zach McPherson, they used a 3rd-round pick on last year, I believe. You got to see if this kid can play. And if not, are these undrafted free agents going to step up? It's a lot to ask on these guys, but, could a Mario Goodrich or a Joshua Joby step up and make you feel that much better? But to me, they've got to sign a corner now. I don't know if they'll be able to get Bradbury, because I'm sure the market's going to be hot for him. His old defensive coordinator that he's got a relationship with out in Las Vegas, I wouldn't be surprised to see him head out to the strip there. But there's other guys out there that I think you could take a chance on, kind of like you did last year. But I don't know. To me, nothing matters. Like, Grant, they're getting pressure. I guess it helps, but I'm scared that Darius Slay's kind of back there by himself.
Yeah. It's a clean sweep here. My biggest concern 100% is the defensive backfield. You look at the Eagles secondary, easily the biggest weakness on this team right now. Priority 1A for me in this draft, Ryan knows, Rob knows, it was to get an edge rusher. Priority 1B was to get a cornerback. And as great as this, I really, really like this Eagles draft class. They didn't get it done. They did not get it done. You look at, Steven Nelson gone, Rodney McLeod's gone. Anthony Harris was a little disappointing last year, and he's back. But I think he was just disappointing. But for me, this Eagles secondary is a huge weakness. This is a secondary last year that allowed the 13th highest opposing completion percentage in NFL history last year. And when you consider 10 of the 18 quarterbacks they played were near garbage, that is a concern. That is a huge concern given the change we have seen in that defensive backfield. So Odizzle says, do you want Bradbury? I'm 50-50. Yes! Get it done, Howie. Absolutely should be done already. Just give him the money. I don't care. That's my take. Rufus says, I think Tay Gowan is a really good slot corner. We have no safeties worth anything. Also the worst punter in the NFL. It's a big concern. Rob, you touched on it. You got to think that how much can this secondary hinder this defense? That's my fear, is this Eagles secondary, because I don't want to, just as much as I don't want to give any more excuses to Jalen Hurts, the same goes for Jonathan Gannon. I know the personnel was garbage last year, but he's got pieces there. Is this Eagles defensive backfield going to be the excuse for Jonathan Gannon in 22? Any thoughts on that?
What do you think, Ryan?
Yeah. I thought you were sighing to let this big
No.
speech go. No, yeah. I mean, you hit the nail right there. You're right. It's going to be an excuse, and it's going to hinder the potential of this defense. Now that you have finally fixed your linebacking core to the point where they're actually, more than serviceable. I mean, before you had guys that, I mean, I don't even want to start naming names because I'm just going to get depressed, so I won't. But there have been some bad linebackers here, and now we finally have a good group. The fact of the matter is, like TJ Edwards, who I think is a really good young player, he's like your fourth linebacker right now. That's awesome. That's I love to even say that. And the front, the front seven, however 3-4-4-3, has some depth, and I think they're going to be running wild out there. But you're right, the defensive backs are most likely going to ruin that for us because they're just well, why would we run on this team? Let's just throw on them all day.
Mm-hmm.
And,
yeah, I mean,
and they're going to, and they're going to get torched, and Slay is going to, Slay's going to have to do, way too much, and he's not going to be comfortable. He's going to do things that it's not really in his skill set, and he's going to look bad. Then the fans are going to yell at him, and it's going to be a whole thing, all because we couldn't get a little bit of help to Slay.
And it's amazing. It's one player, in my opinion. If you can get a second corner, I think it just opens you up to be able to do so much more all over the field. Move Avonte Maddox around. Maybe Tay Gowan is a guy that could take some snaps at the slot if you have to go ahead and do that. But you got to sign a guy. And I don't know, man. I think the selling point to James Bradbury is the Giants just released you. They said you weren't good enough. How great would it be to play them 2 times a year? And we're going to pay you, but 2 times a year and stick it to them. Like, that's got to be your selling point, I think, to James Bradbury.
And for me, I think Jordan Davis also plays into this big time. I think a lot of that selection was because he's what he does for the rest of our edge rushers, like for Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat, being able to get more open lanes to the quarterback. Because if the Eagles pass rush doesn't take a significant leap from last year to this year, they were 31st, I believe, in sack percentage. That with that defensive backfield, that's a concern. That is a huge concern. That this Eagles pass rush has to go from terrible to at least top 15. At least top 15 if the Eagles don't make any moves there. Mm-hmm. All right, let's roll on to our next question. We're going to grade the Eagles offense just a little bit. How would you grade, as it stands now, the 2022 Eagles offense, 0 to 10? Rob, lead us off.
I mean, from a potential standpoint, I'll go high here. I'm going to go with a 7.5. I'll go with. And it's because, yes, you got skill positions. Yes, your offensive line could still be very stout, even though you lose Brandon Brooks. You have guys that have played before. Landon Dickerson became a big player. You have Isaac Seumalo. There's talk that they may even try and get Juergens on the field this year. And you obviously got your 2, bookends on the tackle position. But I can't go higher than that because we still don't know what the quarterback is. And until we do, I still think I'm being probably a little too favorable to them with the question at quarterback. Like, somebody could say 5, and I couldn't argue it because the quarterback is that important to the offense. I'm going to tend to just believe that they're going to be better because of the talent, because of adding a guy like an A.J. Brown, because Dallas Goedert is another year older. I'm going to say that I'll go with a 7.5.
7.5 for Rob. Rufus says Jordan Davis is Gannon's A.J. Brown. They got him some Gannon has no excuses. We'll see, man. We will see. What about you, Ryan? How would you grade the Eagles' offense?
Yeah, I'm kind of with Rob here. I'm gonna be a little higher than maybe I should. I'm gonna say a 7, just because I really feel like if Hurts even just takes small incremental steps forward in a few of his kind of deficient areas, I think that would make this offense really scary. And I think the potential could be even higher, but I think Hurts is the sole reason why it's not 9, honestly. So I'll say 7, just because again the potential is there, and even if Hurts isn't playing that well, we still know that we have a really good run game to kind of rely on. So I still think this offense is going to be humming either way. And even if it's just the threat of what Hurts can do rather than what he actually can do, I still think this offense is going to be all right.
Quentin says 7 because of the quarterback questions. God, I'm actually the highest here.
Oh, wow.
I'm the highest. This is crazy. For me, you've got on paper, it looks really good. Top 5, top 10 offensive line, no question. Top running attack in the NFL, no question. You've got a top 10 tight end. I think you've got potentially 2 top 10 duos in the NFL at wide receiver. It just all comes down to whether or not I think the offensive line can do a little bit better in pass protection. There were times last year when Jalen Hurts was on the run just a little bit. And I think, obviously, Jalen Hurts taking that next step, going through his progression, seeing the field better, hitting guys in stride. I give the rushing attack a 9.5, and I gave the passing attack a 7. So I'm giving it an 8. Wow. So I'm way higher on this Eagles offense. That's interesting. Anyway, I guess I'm usually the optimist here. I'm usually the optimist here. I take it back. Rob is the pessimist.
I have to make an off-topic. Al Horford is the key to Boston tonight. Really? And he made a play earlier where he dunked on Giannis's head that was more athletic than anything he did in his year stint here. And it wasn't even close. Like, I thought he was an old man on retirement then. And what he's doing in this game right now, I can't not make a comment. Like, I am just astonished at what he's doing right now. It's unreal.
All right, let's go in to our last question move before we get into some over-unders. Here we go. How would you grade the Eagles' defense out of 10? Ryan?
I'm going to say a 6.5. Mostly, again, because of, the 2 missing pieces that we've previously talked about. But, I think when you look at this team versus last year, and they had certainly their moments, it was a very below average defense. And I think with the improvements to the linebacking, getting Reddick in here, Dean, White, adding Jordan Davis, getting, a little health in Brandon Graham, having that rotation, at pretty much 8 deep, again, if they're going for 3, who knows now at this point. But yeah, I mean, they certainly have a lot of good depth in that front 7. And you still obviously have Slay, and Harris was serviceable. So, I think it's going to be very, much improved. And as Rob said, if you go out and get a Bradbury or someone like that, someone that you can rely on to be that number 2, that way, Maddox can float around and either be the nickel or drop to safety, and you have, Gowan and McPherson and all the undrafted rookies in the world, kind of playing their part as far as getting 4 and 5 and 6 spots on that corner room. I think it could be even higher, because I think you plug that hole, as Rob said again, it really just makes the defense that much better. So, but for now, I'll say 6.5, but it's a optimistic 6.5.
I'm going to go with a 6 here, and there's a couple reasons. First of all, we talked all about the secondary, right? I'm going back to negative town here. We talked all about the secondary, no doubt about it. But I also look, and yes, Brandon Graham's back, but who is Brandon Graham now? Coming off of that injury. That's a concern. You re-signed Derek Barnett, so you're automatically deducted a point in my ratings just for re-signing Derek Barnett. Josh Sweat got the contract last year. How does he look this year? Fletcher, another year older. Hargrave is playing for a contract, so I'd expect a lot out of him. So, there are some question marks, even along that defensive front, that have to be asked, that have to be put out there. I agree that the potential, especially if you get these linebackers flying around, can be a much better product. I think a signing would help me to bump them up a little bit as well. But as constructed, I'm going to have concerns. And as Dive said, Jonathan Gannon has to prove himself to me, because I was not a fan of his last year. I know the players were not good, but I thought some of his game plans made zero sense, such as, let Tom Brady sit back there and pick you apart. Not the best strategy in the world. So, because of that, I'll keep it in that middle range. But is the potential there? Sure. The potential's there for him to be pretty good.
Yeah. Oh. You're on mute.
I'm muted. Whoops. I'm at a 6 as well. For me, it is definitely 6. Yeah, Ryan, you win this one. The secondary is just such a huge concern. I agree. We're going to have significant improvement at linebacker. You're going to have significant improvement in that middle area of the defense, 100%. But a lot of pressures on Brandon Graham, staying healthy, making sure he did not miss a beat since he's been hurt. They really need him to be that guy. You look at Josh Sweat continuing to take that next step in his development. It's going to be so huge for that pass rush, man. But I got to think, this goes back to Kyle Hamilton. And I just wish you had a guy
everything
backfield. So that is just going to haunt my dreams for a long, long time. And don't be wrong. I like Jordan Davis. I think he's gonna do a lot more than just impact the box score for this Eagles defense, 100%. But that's another. We already talked about that ad nauseum. Let's get to some 6-pack over-unders here. Eagles edition. Over-under for team wins right now for the Philadelphia Eagles is at 8.5. Ryan, over or under?
I gotta say over. I mean, they were 9-8 last year. And I remember talking a lot about win totals and stuff before the season. Man, everybody was 11 and 12 win. Super optimistic. But I didn't necessarily see it. But I think just looking again year over year, their schedule is still going to be pretty decently easy considerably. And yeah, I just think the improvements all around. It's not like they lost anybody of significance, too much versus the team last year. So I got to say it's got to be an easy over. I think this is, double-digit potential team win total this year.
What about you, Rob?
2 months ago, I would have said under because I thought they were going to take a step back, but I'm just really impressed with what they've done. And now I look at it and say, no, you're damn well better be over 8.5. You damn well better at least be 9, if not 10 this year. I'm kind of thinking that this team, if it plays to its potential, is absolutely a 10-win team, a 10-7 team. So I'm going to go with over because I think you've now set the bar a little bit higher than what it may have been a couple months ago.
Rufus says, wow, I can't believe how much lower I am. He's going to 5.5. Reddick is an upgrade. BG coming off injury. Derek Barnett is still there. And a bottom 10 defensive backfield. That might be putting it politely, to be honest.
Wow, yeah, that's
Quill says, how is Giannis sitting with 5 minutes? I need to turn this game on.
If I read this correctly, and maybe Quill could tell me, does Al Horford have 30 points in this game?
Are you kidding me?
What?
If I read, because we were doing the show, so I kind of looked up and it said first 3 quarters, 14 points, in the fourth 15 points, then he hit a free throw, and I'm like, that's 30. There's no way they're going to tell me that Al Horford has 30.
Al Horford indeed does have 30 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists.
Dude, this guy couldn't walk on the floor 3 years ago.
He's 5 for 7 from 3.
What?
What is happening?
He hit 5 threes all year.
Yeah.
Oh my God. So guess what? For all those people that talk about washed and cooked players, James Harden can absolutely come back from this. If Al Horford just put up 30 points after the display of basketball I watched from that guy 3 years ago.
Yeah.
My God. Sorry, I know. This is an Eagle show. Focus.
All good. Quentin says, I also deduct a point for re-signing Derek Barnett.
Yes.
And Quill says Harden is going off. I'm smashing the over for the Philadelphia Eagles 100%. You look at who they're playing. 4 rebuilding teams: the Houston Texans, Jacksonville Jaguars, Detroit Lions, Chicago Bears. Excited for that Chicago Bears and that quarterback matchup. That could be really, really fun. But you look at Pittsburgh now with Kenny Pickett. I'm interested to see when the Eagles are going to get him in the season because that could be a big determining factor in a win or a loss. So I'm good. I think you smashed that over, and let's move forward. AJ Brown, total receptions. I put it at 60.5. I might have went a little low. What about you, Rob? Over, under?
Yeah, I'm going over. I think AJ's got a lot of catches in him this year.
Okay.
I see a big. Honestly, I see them throwing the ball a little bit more than what they did last year, because you now have a couple guys such as Devontae and AJ out there. I think AJ's the guy who's going to have more catches out of the two of those. So I'll go well over 60.5. I don't know. It's funny because the Eagles haven't had a wide receiver to pay attention to in so long. I don't even know what a good number is for catches in a season for a wide receiver. Because as long as we have a guy catch over 30, I'm super pumped because it's just not that often. So I don't know. Whatever the good number is, that's what AJ Brown's going to have.
Rufus says, "Damn, Rob is so positive tonight. Am I the only resident of Negadelphia today?"
Yo, the Sixers have come back and tied the series. I'm oozing with optimism right now. Oozing with it.
Love it. What about you, Ryan? Over under on receptions.
Easy over. In fact, if AJ Brown gets under 60 catches, there's going to be a problem. It's mostly going to be AJ Brown going, dude, what the hell, man? There's no way, and there's no way he's not going to get well over 60. Just, the fact of the matter is you have Devontae over there. Sometimes he's going to be able to line up against, a subpar corner. And honestly, I think the both of them have potential to get 75 catches each, if not a little more. It just really all depends on how much, the passing game is working and when it's needed, depending on if we're up or down or whatever in a game. But, it's an easy over.
I'm not as confident as you are. I'm more in that 65 area. I'm definitely going over the Sixers. Jesus, now we're talking basketball. The Eagles threw the ball way less than any team in the NFL last year. I agree. I think it's time to assess Jalen Hurts' arm and whether or not he can beat good defenses with his arm. That is everything this year. But I don't think it's going to. Oh my gosh! You see that scoop by Jason Tim? I don't think it's going to be that drastically improved in terms of the nuts and bolts of this offense. I think Nick Sirianni knows what works, and I don't know how different that's going to mean. The Eagles are going to spread the ball around with Devontae, with Dallas Goedert. So it's going to be interesting. So I'm definitely smashing it over. No question about that. Let's go on to the next one. Eagles sack percentage. Over under 6.9%. To be fair, over seven or more was in the top 10 last year. Over under, Ryan.
I gotta go under.
Okay.
I don't. I mean, even when I feel like even when we feel like we have a really good attacking defense, they just never get sacks.
Yeah.
Just close, or you hurried them. Awesome, good job. Those are all fine and good, but you want to get to the quarterback. You want to bring them down, and I don't see. I see an improvement for sure, God willing. But I'm sorry. Just maybe it's just the history of knowing this team and actually sacking a quarterback seems to be the hardest thing in the world. So I don't see how they're going to improve that much to get into top 10 material here.
What about you, Rob?
Yeah, I say I'm here's Negadelphia. Now, if they're in the top half of the league, I'm happy. I don't need them to be in the top 10 in that because that would be a major improvement. And I just don't see it. I think exactly what Ryan said. I want pressure on the quarterback. I would love sacks, but I want them to make the quarterback feel uncomfortable. And I think that's what they go for, even more so than the sack. They just want to rattle the cage a little bit. So I'll go under that number.
Going under, but I just going to double down on what I said just a bit ago. Like the Eagles' pass rush has to be at least top 15. Has to be top 15, given no changes to this roster as it currently stands. They have to get home. I'm like you said, Ryan. I'm tired of, the Derek Barnetts where they're just this close away from getting the quarterback and never get home. Coyle says, are we going to be blitzing our linebackers? 100%. That's got to be it. Like you don't just bring in Hassan Reddick, who's this hybrid edge Sam linebacker, to not get him going towards the quarterback. That would be a major mistake. You got to think that's a huge piece of also bringing in Jordan Davis to free up some of our guys coming off the edge as well. So that's got to be it. Like that was like what we were sold on with Jonathan Gannon, and the stunts and the delays and a lot more movement, pre-snap movement across the defensive line. We didn't see much of it last year. We didn't not a lot of blitzing from Jonathan Gannon. So I think this is the year. Coyle saying over. I love it.
Pretty confident. Yeah, I can't wait to see Hassan Reddick just absolutely whip by Derek Barnett as he's fumbling around trying to get past an offensive tackle, and Reddick absolutely smashing a quarterback.
And then the sack is negated by a defensive as he tackles the lineman out of frustration.
You beat me to it, man. You beat me to it.
Oh, man.
Oh, man. It's going to happen, too.
Yeah.
Or it's he gets a sack, and then like the next quarter he gets like this terrible roughing the passer call that extends a drive for the other team.
Yeah, right.
To give them, it's always one of those two.
Oh, man.
Jalen Hurts passing touchdowns. I think he had 16 last year. Put it at 21 and a half. Rob.
I was doing the math on this, right? So I was trying to figure this one out. And I'm going to go over because I believe he gets close to 20 from just Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, and Dallas Goedert. I think those three guys alone get him. I think that gets him close, right? So, I think maybe you get – what number did you set for Smitty in the next question?
Hold on one second. I can tell you. I think it was 5.5. Yeah.
Yeah. See, so like I even said, even if Smitty gets 5 and you get 7 from AJ or something like that, and maybe you get another 6 from Dallas Goedert, you're already at 18. So to get over 21 and a half, somebody else is going to catch a touchdown pass this year. It's not going to be Arcega-Whiteside. It probably won't be Rager. It won't be. I don't know. Maybe Arcega-Whiteside is the diamond in the rough tight end that we always wanted. But maybe it's the rookie tight end. Who knows? Bottom line is I think the number for him this year is like 24, 25. I would like to see him get there. Anything past that to me is a bonus. But I think he will go over 21 and a half.
What about you, Ryan?
Yeah, no, he has to. I mean, the simple fact, he played 15 games. So if he's healthy in the entire season, you have 2 more games. You have A.J. Brown. I mean, Robbie basically broke it down pretty simply with the top 3 targets. You also have Watkins is going to catch a few. Greg Ward is just always there somehow to score a touchdown in the 17th or 18th week against a team that we're already up by 30. So he'll get 2 of those at least. So yeah, he's in that 25 range, and I think he could probably have another 10 on the ground. So I'm really hoping somewhere in the range of total 35. But yeah, passing touchdowns, you should easily get that.
Love it. Yeah, I'm definitely going over. Definitely going over on this one. Rufus says, if they go 3-4, does Cox play end?
Yeah, I think you'll see that on certain downs.
Yeah, I mean, the Eagles love to rotate their guys anyway. I think there's go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, and because of the way they're going to play that 3-4, if you rush a linebacker on his side, he's still technically playing on the inside of the rush. You know what I mean? So, I mean, there's different ways you can do it, but I would not be surprised to see Fletcher Cox, kind of kick out there a little bit on certain downs out of that.
And Fletcher Cox is a free agent after this year. I think so is Javon Hargrave.
Yes.
And you brought in Patrick Johnson last year in the draft, like who's a more of a 3-4 linebacker as well. So, I think who's that?
You got Milton to back up Jordan. You got, the young kid Milton. What's it, Milton Williams?
No, yeah. So it's all there. Quentin says you can fix Derek Barnett by merely checking his pee regularly.
You can fix Derek Barnett by not resigning him when no one in the league wants him. That's how you fix Derek Barnett.
Devontae Smith, 5.5 touchdowns over under, Ryan.
Yeah, I got to go over here. I think, his what did he have this year? 6, right?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Yeah, I think he had 6. So I don't see how he doesn't continue to progress. And even if it's by 1 or 2, but I still think with the fact that you have AJ Brown basically taking probably the number 1 corner on the team, and him going against the number 2s, I think just that fact alone, he'll be able to catch a couple more touchdowns than last year. So yeah, over for me.
What about you, Rob?
I think it's a great line. I think 5.5 is a great line for him. I'm gonna, just because there's no way with a team that I'm not sold on as being excellent, I could just go over. So I'm gonna go with an under here, but just because I think that number 5 is a nice number. I think he could get, and I agree with Ryan. He could absolutely get more, but I'm going to go with 5 because I am going to say that AJ steals some from him. Quez is going to probably take a couple from him. Because remember, AJ's the guy that could catch the ball and break 2 tackles and go in for a touchdown too. So that's going to probably take away a couple tries. So I'll go under, but not because I don't like Smith. I just, it's going to be. We'll see how. Listen, if Hurts is out there throwing, I guess it won't matter. But
yeah, I think I'm going to go under on this one. I agree for what everyone already said, but like you as well said, Ryan. Like I'm excited to see Devontae and his route running and how much he is a technician against the 2s and the 3s, and hopefully move him around a little bit more in this offense pre-snap and just destroy. That could be a mismatch nightmare. The Eagles have a weapon, especially on 3rd down. So not only do you have AJ Brown attracting the attention, Devontae could kind of destroy some of the lesser cornerbacks, and that could be something that Jalen Hurts, that could be a go-to there on those like 3rd and shorts, like a little out route or anything like that. So let's roll on to our last question, and that is Miles Sanders touches per game over under 19.5. Rob.
Under, and I say that because I think that if you want to preserve this guy, like last year, I was all about getting him a lot of touches. He can't stay healthy. I mean, he can't stay healthy. And honestly, I think when you have Kenny Gainwell, when you have who I believe is going to make the roster and play, Kennedy Brooks, what are they going to do with Boston Scott? I mean, there's going to be a lot of people on offense that are going to want to touch this ball. And I don't know if Miles Sanders can handle 20-plus, touches a game. So I'm going to go under because I think, honestly, I almost believe that's how you get your best Miles Sanders.
Yep. What about you, Ryan?
Yeah, I honestly thought this was probably the hardest one for me. I'm going to go under. Just mostly because, as Rob said, there's a lot of mouths to feed in this, this offense. And, they saw last year, and they started, like I said, week 8 kind of was that, hey, let's run the ball. That's a good idea, right? And it was when Sanders was out. And when he came back in, it kind of still kept going. But I think they realized that, if they try to run the ball a little bit more, and I hope they do it earlier rather than kind of later what how they did last year, and then kind of ramp up to more of a passing offense as the season progresses. But I think at the end of the season, though, just because you're going to have 3 or 4 running backs there, you're going to have a couple of more targets in the passing game that are worthy of actually throwing it to. Just by all that, I feel like, he's not going to get the amount of touches to hit 20 a game, especially considering, his kind of liability in the passing, game. So I think it'll be close just because they're probably going to lean on him heavier than any other running back. But yeah, I just don't see how they're going to be able to do that 20 times a game.
Rufus says under. He gets hurt too often and probably won't be here next year. So they need to push the young guys. Kenny Gainwell definitely fits Nick Sirianni's offense much better than Booby Sanders. It is what it is. His ability to be a receiving threat in that backfield, I think, is really important for Jalen Hurts. I'm just tired of like the what ifs, but like Miles Sanders, but if he gets more touches, but if he stays healthy, but if he doesn't fumble the ball, but if he doesn't run out of bounds, like there's just so it just keeps going and going and going with Miles. Yeah, definitely under on my end. Let's wrap it up here tonight. Final thoughts, Ryan. Plugs? Go ahead, man.
Yeah. Everybody can check me out on all the socials. Philly Sports Alliance. We're at Twitter when it's working. At Philly Sports PSA. So give us a follow, like, share, all that fun stuff. But yeah, you can also see all of my shows on TPL. And yeah, that's all I got.
Love it, man. What about you, Rob?
Catch me on Twitter at Philly_madness. Basically, just yelling at people that I don't like. It's kind of what I do now. I think I spent today. I think I attacked. I apologize to any computer nerd who was offended by my comments today, but I knew that I would get some people telling me about VORP and shut the hell up when it came to Jokic. So I apologize, but catch me Philly_madness. Catch me here, Party on Broad, Sixers, Eagles talk, whatever we feel like. When Dibes, I feel like every time you reach out to me about, all right, what should we do this week? I'm like so down on the one side, and then something happens after I say, let's do the other. And you're like, oh, so now the Sixers are tied 2-2 instead of.
I know, right?
You got to stop asking me so early.
That is so funny. You're right. So it was like, what was it, like Saturday?
It might have been like Friday before the game. You were like, what do you want to do next week? And I was like, I'm depressed. I don't even know what the hell. And then like I wake up today and I'm like, man, we got a series. It's 2 Oh, wait, I'm going to go talk about the Eagles tonight. But it was great. I enjoyed talking about the Eagles, but it's just funny how it works out.
Amazing how a healthy Joel Embiid can just change the entire narrative. Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, so we were like discussing like Phillies were in shambles. Sixers were in shambles.
Yeah.
Here we are. And apparently Segura and Hoskins just hit back-to-back home runs.
2-0. Here we go, baby.
Jeez.
Final thoughts. Quinn says Embiid is going to be good play, man. He's dropping 50 points tomorrow night. There's no question.
Oh, I hope.
No question.
Please put Rufus's comment up there.
All right, Ryan.
Toronto too. Don't go to Toronto. They're jokes.
Ryan, we got we were doing a watch party of Eagles versus Browns a couple years back, and we got bombarded by like 50 plus Cleveland Browns fans during the show, commenting, spamming us. Sure. And Rob went off. One of the all-time Rob rants of all time. And it's like a running joke now about Cleveland.
There was a good 7 to 8 Coronas that led to this. But man, did I attack that city. And then kind of woke up the next day and was like, I think I went too hard in a place I've never been.
They can take it as Cleveland, you know?
Yeah.
All right. Tuesday night, obviously, we'll be doing post-game live with the Sixers. Huge game. It's going to be a ton of fun. Maybe do a pregame show. I don't know yet. I got to talk.
I'm in the building. I'm in the building. Game 6, I think.
So very nice.
I really like a chance to see this thing end.
Oh man, it's gonna be rocking at that building, man. Wednesday night, I'm gonna plug my other show. We've got a fantasy movie draft, and I just found out I have the 3rd pick in the draft. Rob, what is your favorite fantasy movie?
I feel like it's a broad topic. Fantasy movie, like
so no Star Wars and no superhero films. We are banning.
Are you going more into the Disney world of things or man? Wow, favorite fantasy movie? That is hard. That is super hard.
Lord of the Rings. I mean, I'm a ringer.
Yeah.
So that's a good one.
I
So I have the third overall. I'm not going to say what I'm going to take.
Well,
No.
I don't want to give it away.
But
Nah.
man, I could go so many different routes here because but like I also like some of the dumbest movies of all time. So don't pay attention to me.
Yeah. Me too.
All right, so
I'll be around.
All right, so that will be Wednesday night at 8:00. Check me out on Twitter at the Suit Up Geeks. We'll be live streaming 10 teams, 5 rounds. It's like fantasy football and movies. Then we throw it all on Twitter, and I always destroy Rob in all of these drafts every single time. It's amazing.
It's a fix. By the way, I just want to make this very clear.
Ghostbusters is a really good one. I love it.
When we did our draft show where we did our mock drafts, I had the Eagles take Jordan Davis and Treylon Burks. By the way, I just wanted to be very clear that Jordan Davis they took, Treylon Burks went in their slot at 18. So and somehow, 85% of the people said my draft sucked. I don't know what to tell you. I just don't get it. I don't understand. I'm frustrated. It's absurd to me. Somehow he's got Elon Musk's phone number.
Come on, man.
To change the polls, I think is what it is. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
People just like me more, I guess.
I mean,
Stop
you don't
explaining.
live entire cities on air, so yes, people do like you more.
All right, guys. Let's wrap it up. We're going to close it up. Guys, make sure you hit that smash that subscribe button. I need to go to bed. Follow my man Rob on Twitter at Philly_madness. My man at Philly Sports Alliance. Please go follow them, subscribe, Facebook, all that stuff. And Brian, thank you so much for joining, man. We got to do this again in the very near future, man.
Anytime, and like I said, that idea we've been kicking around, man. We definitely got to do that.
Absolutely, we're throwing ideas around to start doing at least once a week weekly roundtable on the birds. There's a lot of excitement, man. I gotta lie, I'm starting to get kind of Eagles fever here, and it's probably the earliest I've gotten Eagles fever in a long time. And it's been a long time.
Well, real quick, it's usually because you get so excited for the draft, and then they ultimately break your heart and disappoint you that you go into a little depression after the draft, and you're like, well, whatever, And normally the Phillies are sucking as they are, and normally we don't have the Sixers to cheer us up. So you just fall into this awful pit of whatever until training camp finally hits. But now they had a great draft. The Sixers are keeping everybody interested in Philly sports. So it's a great time to continue to be excited about not only the Sixers, but the Eagles. I'm ready to start tailgating now.
Yeah, for real. Yeah, tomorrow's going to be a long day at work. That is 100%. Quentin says, go Sixers. Go Sixers, man. Beat the Heat. Let's suck at Flyers. All right, let's end it on that note. Thank you, everyone, for watching. For Rob, for Ryan, for myself. Stay awesome, everybody. Let's go Sixers. Catch you on